Hey guys, it's Hillary. Welcome back to my channel. I'm your Enneagram life coach, and today we are talking about the common mistypes of the type 3. But before I get started, I was going to take you guys to Starbucks real quick and get myself a coffee so that I could be fully on and ready to do this video, but I just looked on my Life 360 app and my husband has our Jeep and apparently he's out and about running errands. So it looks like I'm going to stay home and make my own coffee. Let's go. So, got my coffee and we're gonna start. But before we get started, I just want to remind you guys, please like the video. It means so much to me. And also, don't forget to subscribe. I've got so much coming. It's important that you subscribe. Let's get into what this video is about, right? And I want to start with, why do people mistype? Because that's the most common thing I see as a coach. Mistyping and type confusion. But the thing is, guys, with the Enneagram, it's always going to come down to the why you do the things that you do, not the how you do the things that you do. To be honest, you always need to start with your core fears, your core desires, your core motivations. You look those things up first. So today I'm going to be sharing why it's common or uncommon to mistype if you're type 3 versus all the other types. And by the end, if you're still vacillating between a 3 versus another type, I'll link a few type 3 videos down below. I have a ton of videos, guys. I have the wings video. I have a ton of interviews with type 3s. I even have working with a type 3 done. So I would recommend you just go watch a few more videos on the type 3 and see if you most relate to that. Okay, so I hear and see a lot of people say they took a test, which honestly it's not a great way to figure out your type. If you've taken a test and you come to me, I'll say, okay, what were your top 3 results? We'll go over all the core fears, desires, motivations, longings, weaknesses of your top 3. So it'll give me a baseline to start with, but it's definitely not a great way to figure out your type, because a lot of times people think those top 3 results that they get, the top one is their type and then the next 2 are their wings. That's so not true. It's like, I cannot tell you how many times I hear this. It's not true, guys. Do not think your top 3 on a test is your top type and your 2 wings. It's usually one of those top 3s are your dominant type. Wings have nothing to do with it. Once we land on your dominant type, then we know what your wings are. So say for instance, you're a 3, we now know you have a 4 wing and a 2 wing. And from there, we do the work to figure out which wing you're most dominant in. Okay guys, so one last important thing to remember is no one is purely their type. And if you've taken the test from the Enneagram Institute, I think it's the Rizzo Hudson Enneagram Type Indicator. I'm holding my test right here. I took this test, this one was from 2017. I actually was tested 10 years ago by an Enneagram coach and had a session with them, and my top result was a 9. And then 4 years ago, I wanted to take this test so that I could see what everyone else was doing. And in this test, I scored in all of the numbers, right? So my type 9, the peacemaker, was the highest. My second highest was a type 6, the loyalist, which makes perfect sense. My third was the type 7, the enthusiast. And after researching them, I realized and figured out that I was a type 9, which means my wings would be an 8 and a 1, which did not even come up in my top 3, right? That's actually normal. My fourth one, oh my gosh, do you guys hear Luke? Luke, say hi. He's always with me, guys. He's my dog, Luke. He's my rescue dog. So anyways, you got to make an appearance today. Oh, let me straighten you guys back out. But, so then I actually scored pretty high in a type 2 also. And then the next one was a type 4, type 5, type 3, type 1, and type 8. And my top score was a 26. My bottom score was a 7, which means I'm a little of all of them, right? And so that's what I'm trying to say to you guys, that we are a little of all the types. We just have a dominant one, and that dominant one is what's going to help us understand ourselves, understand our motivations, break free of what's holding us down, what's really putting us in that box. That's what's helped me break out of it, break out of, what people have told me I should be, and be free to be who I am. So what I'm trying to say is, you might feel like another type sometimes. This is normal. It's okay. What we're trying to do is figure out what your dominant type is, what your main, it's also called a main type, a core type, a dominant type, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're trying to figure out, and that's what this video is for those type 3s, to figure out what they have in common and what's not in common. All this to say is the Enneagram is super complex, and don't let it throw you off, don't let it discourage you. Keep going, we're gonna find your dominant type, and that's why I do these videos, and I like to teach them in such a simple way that you would definitely understand who you are and what your type is. So what I'm trying to say, finding your dominant type, it takes a ton of work, but it's worth it. And just taking a test and depending on your top score to tell you who you are and what motivates you is usually not enough. That's why I do these videos. Okay, so now that we have all that out of the way, let's start with the type 3 versus the type 1. These two, they could be mistaken for each other. They absolutely share common traits. First reason is they both have rules. I would say the 3, they have rules, but not as many as the type 1. 3's rules are mostly based around work and planning and whatever role they're in, maybe, you know, a parent, a boss, an employee, son or a daughter, whatever that role is, they usually have rules based around that. The 1's rules, they have more to do with how to live their life, how to run their life, how to manage the people in their life, how to organize their life, how to manage their finances, and just all around how to be good in all areas in their life. Those are kind of the rules that they follow. Both are efficient, but for different reasons. Both are task-oriented and keep their emotions in check to get the job done. 1's, they want to get the job done the right way. 3's, they want to just get the job done. Usually the efficient way, but they want the job done no matter what. 3's are more goal-oriented and strive for success, and the type 1's, they strive for perfection and order. Okay, so let's move on to the type 3 versus the type 2. So I would say both of these types, they're kind of common. They both are in that heart center, right? The 2, 3, and 4, they're all in the heart center, and then they both share wings, and so you have the 3 wing 2 and the 2 wing 3, so they have that in common. I would say a big difference is the type 2, they focus more on relationship and others' needs, and the type 3 will focus more on tasks and goals and wanting to be recognized for their accomplishments. And I would say a type 2, they don't really want to be in the spotlight as much as the type 3 would want to be. The type 2s, they're a lot more patient when listening to other people's thoughts and feelings and emotions. And the type 3, they might be a little bit more impatient, especially if they have places to go and people to see and things to do and stuff like that. They're going to be a little bit more impatient with people wanting to express their emotions and feelings and talk a lot. So that is a difference between the two. So let's move on to the type 3 versus the type 4. Again, these two, they're both in the heart center. You know, that 2, 3, and 4, they're all in that heart center, and they too share wings. So you have the 3 wing 4 and the 4 wing 3. But I would say these aren't common mistypes. These aren't commonly mistyped for each other unless they have a really strong wing. So if the 3 has a really strong 4 wing, maybe, and vice versa. Both share a concern for approval and recognition and feel that need to maintain their image. It looks differently for both of them, but they both have that in common. I would say a really big difference is the type 3, they're the ones that are wearing a mask, right? They can shape shift to kind of be who people want them to be and win people over. And the type 4, not so much. They're always their most genuine and authentic self. Another big difference is a type 3, they're going to put those feelings aside if they need to when accomplishing a goal or going after a goal or anything like that. And a type 4, they're going to have a much harder time putting their feelings aside to achieve a goal. That's just not how they operate. A type 3, they actually have the most feelings of all types, which to me is shocking, but not shocking because they are in that heart triad. They are in the middle of the heart triad. And so the difference is, though, they just don't have access to those feelings. They've pushed them down and ignored them. They don't have as much access to them. And a type 4, they have full access to their feelings. And lastly, their motivations are way different. The type 3, they're motivated by success and achievement and meeting goals and results. And a type 4, they are motivated by a deeper purpose, meaning, and values. So that's something that makes them both very different. Okay, so moving on to the type 3 versus the type 5. I have a ton of experience with this one because my 17-year-old son is a type 5 and my 19-year-old son, almost 20-year-old son, is a type 3. And so when I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, a big difference between the two is my type 3 son, he's gonna fake it till he makes it. He has the confidence, he's gonna just fake it until he makes it and get it done. My type 5, I can't tell you how many times I've heard him say, I hate that saying. He hates it. He does not believe in faking it until you make it. He believes in knowledge. He believes in not moving forward until you have the knowledge. And so that's something that makes them both very different. And I would say that is a big difference between a type 3 and a type 5. Another big difference I would say is energy. The type 3, they have a ton of energy and they can keep going at a continuous speed. They'll just keep going. That energy is there. The type 5, on the other hand, They believe they have a limited amount of energy, right? And they usually have bursts of energy, but not usually just an unlimited supply of continuous energy. But I will say, when I was thinking about this, my type 5 son, who's 17, he codes. So like he's a computer coder, software coder guy, I don't know. And something like that, software coder, I don't know. Anyway, so when he is coding, man, that kid, he can code for like 8 hours straight. He gets lost in it, but that is the type 5. If it's something they are super interested in it and good at, they can have that energy to get it done, but it's gonna wipe them out. We are not gonna see him for days afterwards. He's gonna fully need to recharge after he has that burst of energy and gets that done. I have heard that introverted 3s can mistype as 5s, but 5s usually won't mistype as the type 3. Another big difference is confidence. The type 3, they can be overly confident. They have confidence. Even if they don't know what they're doing, they're gonna be confident in doing it. And the type 5, if they don't have the knowledge, they're not gonna feel confident. Now, they can have confidence if they have the knowledge, if they've looked it up and researched it and know what they're talking about. But if the knowledge is not there, the confidence is most likely not there, and that is different for the 3, right? They will have confidence even if the knowledge is not there. The last thing is 3s, type 3s, they're usually good at social gatherings, social interactions. It doesn't drain them like it would the 5. They, in those conversations, a lot of times, like I said earlier, they can shapeshift, so they can kind of become anything that they need to become to have great conversations. The type 5, nope, they get drained from these social interactions unless they know the person really well, then it doesn't drain them as much. But usually they'll need to take a break and recharge in between conversations and stuff like that, and not so much with the type 3. Okay, so let's move on to the type 3 versus the type 6. This is not a common mistyping, even though they do share that line or that arrow. The 3 goes towards the 6 in health, and the 6 goes towards the 3 in stress. So if a 6 is stressed, maybe it'll look a little bit more like that unhealthy side of the 3. And if the 3 is healthy, it's going to take on some of those positive attributes from that healthy side of the 6, and it can look a little bit more like the 6, but this is usually not a common mistyping. A big difference between the two is a type 3, they thrive on compliments, success, and recognition. The type 6, not as much. The type 6, they're most likely going to be more uncomfortable with compliments and even doubt them. The type 3, they're going to take it all in. They're going to be like, yep, and believe it. But the type 6, they're going to be like, I kind of doubt it. So that's a big difference between the two. When planning a type 3, they want to move forward, not overthink things, get the job done. They're just like full steam ahead. The type 6, they will want to have lots of discussions, figuring it out, poking holes in the plan, trying to make sure there's a plan A, plan B, plan C, just in case something goes wrong. But the type 3, they're going to be way more interested in the results than the plan. So let's move on to the type 3 versus the type 7. So the type 3 and the type 7, they're both in that aggressive stance, and so you are going to see similarities because of that. Both are assertive, positive, and can accomplish a lot. But a big difference is a type 3, they fear failure and they fear people not seeing them as successful. And the type 7, they're gonna reframe that. If there's anything negative or anything that appears like a failure, they're just gonna reframe that into something positive and use it. So they turn negative situations into positive ones. Type 3s, they can focus really well, right? That's a big difference between the 3 and the 7, is the 3, they can focus long-term and get the job done. If there's a goal, they're gonna get it done. And focus for a type 7 is a little more challenging. Not that they can't focus, they definitely can, but it's a little more challenging if it's like a long-term thing, because they can easily get distracted by new ideas and go, wait, let's pivot and let's go try that out. The 3, not so much. They're gonna go after the goal and just keep going forward. So type 3s, they like options, but they like limits on those options. They don't want the freedom that a type 7 is going to want. They are more focused on results. So if they have unlimited options, it'll be a lot harder to accomplish the goal or the task at hand versus the 7. Like I said, they need lots of options. They need freedom. They don't want to feel boxed in. So that is a big difference between the two. One similarity that they have is they both tend to avoid negative feelings. Another similarity is both are upbeat, energetic, and a lot of times both of them are overbooked. I would say both of them can be workaholics in different ways. And so being overbooked is something that they both struggle with. But if you are still struggling between a type 3 and a type 7, look at those motives, look at the motivations. That's really gonna help you figure it out. Look at that why behind why you do what you do. That definitely will help you. Okay, so let's move on to the type 3 versus the type 8. We're almost done. This actually can be a very common mistype, because again, they're both in that assertive stance and they share that aggressiveness to go after what they want. They're both confident. They both like to get things done. Both of them extremely agenda focused. They both want to be respected, but the big difference in that one is the type 3s feel like they have to earn your respect. The type 8s think that they should already have it. A type 3 in a leadership role, they sometimes can mistype as a type 8, but again, going back, look at those motivations. The 3's motivation is that deep need for external validation. That's different than the type 8, and so look at that if you're trying to decide between a type 3 and a type 8. Another difference is 3s care what others think, 8s not so much. Sometimes, but definitely not as much as a 3 is gonna care. With 8s, what you see is what you get. Okay, so last one, type 3 versus the type 9. These two, they're connected by that arrow. The 3 goes towards the 9 in stress, and the 9 goes towards the 3 in health, and so they have similarities because of that, depending on if they're in stress or health. So when a 3 is stressed out, they're gonna take on those unhealthy traits of a 9, which can look like sloth, watching TV, being on their computer, on their phone, playing video games, just plain numbing out. Whatever numbing out looks like to a type 3, whatever takes little to no effort, a type 3, when stressed, might go towards that. Both types, they depend on external support and approval. That's something they have in common. A type 9, when moving towards its healthy path, becomes more focused on their goals, more efficient, and sometimes even more image focused. And I will say, as a type 9, moving towards the healthy side of a 3, I utilize this every day in my business. I always know, like, I'm going towards the healthy side of a 3 when I'm able to accomplish making these videos and doing everything it takes to run my business. Literally takes me moving towards that healthy side of a type 3 to get things done, because I would rather do anything but this sometimes. I would rather watch TV, play games on my phone, you know, just totally numb out. That is in me, it's innate in me, and I have to fight that a lot. And so when we are moving towards that healthy side of the 3, we can look a little bit more like a type 3 and sometimes look, you know, be mistyped. People might go, wait, you're not a type 9, there's no way, but it always comes down to core motivations, guys. And so look at those core motivations if you are trying to decide between a 3 and a 9. Okay guys, so that's it for my mistyping of the type 3. So if you guys don't mind, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate it. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for leaving me wonderful comments. I get so many great comments. It keeps me going, guys, because I do fight the your presence doesn't matter, especially in the YouTube world. And so every time I get one of those comments, I'm like, okay, thank you, Jesus. Like, I appreciate it so much. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate that I get to teach you guys on my YouTube channel. My goal is always to just teach you a real easy, simplified version of the Enneagram so that you can understand and figure out your dominant type, your wings, your subtypes, and learn and grow from it. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me at Hillary_McCaskey_coaching. You can also find me at Enneagram and Coaching on Instagram. That account is just for the Enneagram. The other one is my personal account, and you can also find me at EnneagramandCoaching.com. That's my website. So you can find me any of those places, guys. But anyways, okay, that's all I have today, guys. Until next time, bye, guys.